Houston at Baltimore. 10-7 Houston, 13-4 Baltimore. Baltimore is coming off a week of rest. How are you feeling about this game, Dobbs?
So, as of right now, you know what? The reality is, I got addressed for what it was because I was wrong about a few things. I think you're going to agree with me on this. There was a clip of us from a couple weeks ago where you're saying, when is the Texans going to turn into a Super Bowl window team? Could it be next year? Well, as it turns out, it could be this year, because if they can play like this week to week, I'm not going to count them out against anybody. Obviously, I'm an honest guy. It's a very big long shot still. Back to putting it in numerical numbers like I did last week for giving, I don't remember who it was. Like, you tried to give someone a chance. I was like, I'll put it in a number. 1 out of 10, I'll stick with the 1 out of 10. You play this game 10 times, I'm sure the Ravens come out with it 9 times. One time the Texans are going to find a way. And could that be this week? Definitely could be. D'Amico Ryan's got the boys fired up. The O-line's playing great. The receiving core is basically healthy again. With that said, I mean, they can, and we saw, I think this is my reference point, as we saw week 1, wasn't a close game by any means, but, no turnovers from CJ. It wasn't like it was an absolutely abhorrent game, and it was their first game together. That was the first, everybody's getting their feet wet together. So now, it's like a perfect storyline. Like, now they have all their footing together, so do the Ravens. It's a rematch from week 1. But now I feel like the Texans are going to benefit much more from this being like the rematch later in the year than the Ravens would. So it's got a little bit of juice to it, but obviously no matter what, the Ravens are the heavy favorites, as they should be, as what they've showed all year against good teams. I think it would be very hard for the Texans to come in there, especially with the Ravens being at home.
So here is what I will say. I think this is going to be Baltimore's game to lose, but they rested their starters week 17, most of their starters. And we've seen what can happen to teams who have that bye week and then have also rested their starters in week 17, where they just don't come out with the juice and then they just get ran over by the other team. And with the way that Houston is riding, I could see that as the way that Houston wins this game. If Baltimore cannot pick up the energy that they are going to have to create by themselves due to the fact that they have been off for 2 weeks, I could think Houston could come in hot and start steamrolling. I mean, here, like, looking back at the Browns game, I don't think anyone ever thought it was going to be 45-14. I mean, we were very wrong. I was literally going back in our comments, like, cook us like we deserve it. Like, there was no, like...
Yeah, you had to fry us after that one.
I'll eat... Like, listen, like, this is a game I'm okay, like, eating being wrong. Because it's like, for CJ Stroud to come out and play like this as a rookie in his first playoff game, this year, I don't think anybody expected it. So it's like, I'm okay with that take on our part. But I think Flacco's sanity ran out. And something we have to remember about the Browns, they are very injured. Their O-line is very injured. They're missing key pieces on the defense. So I'm not trying to take that away from Houston. What they did is incredible. And what they're doing, obviously, I don't know if you saw, like, Noah Brown is out now. Tank Dell's on IR. So it's really going to be Nico Collins, John Mechie, Dalton Schultz, Robert Woods, Devin Singletary. So shout out to CJ Stroud. Now, going over to the Ravens, I think this game can shut a lot of, like, the Lamar haters up. I don't know if you haven't already been shut up with what Lamar has done. Like, I don't know what else he can do. Maybe win a Super Bowl. But I think this game is kind of like what we have been waiting for Lamar. Like, if he can put on a show and really put the Ravens at the next level, put them in the AFC Championship, I feel like the people that have held out on Lamar, if they're still holding out, like, then you just have an issue with Lamar for some reason.
Oh, no, for sure. And to go off that point, I would say, and Ravens fans would agree, if you're looking at the landscape of things right now, you have got to be saying to yourself, like, man, oh man, it's never looked better for us. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, we obviously the clear favorites. Every team that's left to be scared of, we showed that we can play very well against. It's like, in reality, at this point, it's the Ravens' Super Bowl to lose, which sounds scary, but it shouldn't, because it really is their Super Bowl to lose. They're in great standing. No matter what matchup they get, even after this week, they should have plenty of faith in themselves. And even if they got the worst-case scenario in the Super Bowl out of the NFC for them, which would be, no doubt, the 49ers, they've already showed what they can do against the 49ers. So it's like, if anything, it's kind of a weird thing where it's like reverse psychology, where it might just be putting a little bit more extra pressure on them, where it's like now everyone expects you to go do it. You've already showed you can against everybody you're going to have to go do it against. So it's like, it's a little bit of a weird situation. But I don't think, like, against the Texans, it just goes back to, the Texans still very young, and that's the main thing with them. But as they showed, in Cleveland, it doesn't matter that much. It apparently, it doesn't,
I was really hoping that the Steelers would win because I feel like Houston actually stood a pretty good chance against Kansas City, and I would have loved to see Houston in the AFC Championship. Obviously, that didn't happen. It is KC at Buffalo. So let me ask you this. I'm going to give you two scenarios, okay? If Houston wins this game, who do you think they have a better chance up against? The Chiefs or the Bills?
I would definitely lean the Bills on that one.
Okay.
Just because on top of a few other things, like I feel like I trust the Chiefs pass rush more, Chiefs secondary more.
Okay.
And the Bills, like as we've been saying, we'll get into it. It's just no matter how good they play for a part of the game, they struggle to close out or they struggle to open. It's one or the other. Like they don't play a complete game very often. So with the Chiefs pedigree, I feel like you would definitely have a better chance against the Bills.
Same question for the Ravens. Who do you think they have a better chance beating? Obviously, I think they could beat both of them. But.
I think they could beat both of them. I think with the Ravens, though, it's tough, though. Because with the Ravens, there's that X factor of they have a great D-line, but then Josh Allen gives you that whole other X factor of you're going to have to defend a lot more reads, and you're going to have to defend a lot more. You're going to have an extra guy in the box a lot. But then it's like, it's equally as shitty if you're going against Mahomes. Like, you're playing against the guy who has eyes in the side and back of his head. I mean, it's like, I guess, which do you prefer? Reality is, no matter who they get, the Bills and the Chiefs, that's a very tough matchup. At this time of the year, regardless, it's a tough matchup. But no matter what, you get it at home. So it's like, to what you're saying, they could beat both of them, though.
Okay, so final kind of takes, notes on the game. You're going to go Baltimore, right?
Yeah, I'm going Baltimore, but again, I'm not. It's not the same doubt that there was for the Texans last week. It's just more affirming confidence in what we've seen from the Ravens this year. But the last thing I'll say is I've seen firsthand a team that dominates, and chokeholds the regular season completely drop the ball in the playoffs. I've seen it from my Saints, and the Ravens are just another franchise. Could it happen to them too? There's no doubt. But if they play like they did in the regular season, they should be able to pull this game out.
I'm going to go Baltimore as well, but like you were saying, I don't want to count out the Texans, and what C.J. Stroud has done this year, last game, has been truly incredible, and I could see in a way, like I said, where they come out with more momentum than the Ravens, and the game kind of gets away from them, where the Ravens are trying to play from behind, throwing in the air a lot, not running the ball, playing their game.
Well, that's been their playoff games whenever they get one. So it's like, to that point, it's time to change the narrative. And that's the thing with Lamar, too. If you're a Lamar hater, that's all the juice you have left. So to your point you're saying earlier, too, it's like this has got to be the game where they end the narratives. John Harbaugh and Lamar.
All right. Well, Baltimore is looking like it's going to be in the AFC Championship.